I watched my wife kiss my best friend through a hidden camera feed at 2:47 a.m. Kabul time, 6,000 miles away from our house in North Carolina, while I was 3 days out from a combat patrol. And that's when I knew I had exactly 147 days to plan the perfect revenge before my boots hit American soil again. If you've got some time and maybe a strong drink, settle in. This one's going to take a while, because what I'm about to tell you is the kind of story that sounds too calculated to be real, too methodical to be driven by emotion. But I promise you, every single word of this happened. Every detail, every video, every consequence. Every sleepless night in a combat zone watching my life fall apart through a screen. This is about how I discovered the two people I trusted most in the world were betraying me while I was deployed in Afghanistan, how they spent my combat pay on their affair, how they disrespected everything I'd sacrificed, and how I made absolutely sure they both faced exactly what they deserved. But here's what you need to understand right from the start. This isn't just a revenge story. It's also a story about what happens after, about whether revenge actually heals anything, about the cost of justice, and whether I paid too much for it. So, stay with me. Because the explosion is satisfying, but the aftermath, that's the part that actually matters. Now, why did I wait 147 days to confront them? Why not jump on the first transport home and kick down the door? That's a question I ask myself every single day, and the answer is complicated. But I'll get there. First, let me take you back to the beginning, back when I actually believed my marriage was solid, back when I thought I knew who I'd married. My name is Michael. 3 years ago, I was a 29-year-old Army captain, infantry officer stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's one of the biggest military installations in the world, if you don't know. I'd been in for 7 years at that point, made captain at 27, which was pretty standard. Good officer evaluation reports, solid leadership scores, respected by my men. I wasn't a lifer necessarily, but I was good at what I did. I'd been married to Jessica for 3 years. We'd been together for 5 total. She was 27 when this all went down, worked as a dental hygienist at a practice about 20 minutes from our house in Fayetteville. We met at this UNC alumni event back in 2018. I'd graduated from Chapel Hill in 2015, stayed connected to the alumni network because, honestly, I didn't have much else going on socially. Army life doesn't leave a ton of room for maintaining friendships outside the unit. Jessica was there with this girl she worked with, both of them nursing beers and looking kind of bored. My buddy Joshua was with me. Joshua and I went way back, freshman year roommates at UNC, both in the same dorm, both kind of lost at first. We bonded over late-night studying and terrible dining hall food. After college, we stayed close even though our lives went different directions. I went military, he went into insurance sales. But we still grabbed beers every few weeks, still texted stupid memes, still considered each other best friends. That night at the alumni thing, Joshua noticed Jessica first. "Dude, go talk to her," he said, nudging me. I was never great at approaching women, but I'd had a couple beers, so I went over. Started with some dumb line about how these events were always awkward. She laughed. We talked for an hour. She was easy to talk to, funny, self-deprecating in that way that made her relatable. We exchanged numbers. I texted her the next day. We went on a real date that weekend. Looking back now, I can see all the ways we maybe weren't perfect for each other. Jessica was spontaneous. I was structured. She liked going out. I liked staying in. She wanted to travel constantly. I was comfortable with routine. But we worked, you know. We compromised. We figured it out. And I loved her. I really did. She made me laugh. She made me want to be better at the non-army parts of life. She pulled me out of my comfort zone in ways that felt good, not scary. We got engaged after 2 years. Nothing fancy. I proposed on a hike, which in retrospect was very me and not very her. But she said yes. We got married in 2020, small ceremony because of COVID. Just immediate family and a handful of friends. Joshua was my best man. He gave this whole speech about how he'd watched me transform from a nervous college kid into a confident officer and now a husband, and how Jessica was lucky to have me. I remember Jessica laughing, her head tilted back, her hand in mine. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the life I'm building. We bought a house in Fayetteville later that year. Nothing crazy, just a 3-bedroom ranch with a decent backyard. My name was the only one on the deed because I'd used my VA loan, but it was our house. We painted the walls together. We picked out furniture. We talked about eventually having kids, maybe in a few years when I was thinking about leaving active duty. I'd already done one deployment before we got married, back in 2019, to Iraq. 7 months. It was hard on us, but we made it through. Video calls when we could, long emails when we couldn't. She sent me care packages with beef jerky and baby wipes and handwritten notes. I sent her photos of sunsets over the desert, tried to make it seem less bleak than it was. When I came home, we fell back into rhythm pretty quickly. So when I got orders for Afghanistan in August 2023, we both figured we'd be fine. We'd done this before. 9-month rotation, they said, September through May. Fire-based lightning out in Helmand Province. Combat zone, active operations. I'd be busy, but we'd stay connected. Jessica took the news hard initially. Cried for a whole evening when I told her, but she pulled herself together. We'll get through this, she said. We always do. The night before I left, Joshua came over to help throw a send-off party. About 20 people showed up. Mix of Army buddies from base, college friends still in the area, some of Jessica's co-workers. We grilled burgers in the backyard, drank too many beers, told stories. Normal pre-deployment stuff. Everyone trying to keep it light while knowing things could go bad. That's always the elephant in the room with these things. Nobody says it, but everyone's thinking it. This might be the last time we see each other. I remember standing by the grill at one point, watching Jessica and Joshua talking by the back fence. She was laughing at something he said, touching his arm the way she did when she found something genuinely funny. Joshua was grinning, holding his beer, totally at ease. I thought, man, I'm lucky. I've got a wife who loves me and a best friend who's got my back. I actually felt grateful that if something happened to me over there, at least Jessica would have Joshua around. Someone she knew, someone I trusted, someone who could help her if she needed it. I should have seen it then. But you don't, do you? You don't look at your wife and your best friend and think, they're going to destroy my life together. You think, I'm serving my country and they're my anchor at home. The goodbye at the base the next morning was brutal. Jessica drove me to Fort Bragg at 0500. It was still dark out. We sat in the car for 20 minutes before I had to go in, just holding each other. She was crying into my chest, soaking my uniform. I'm going to miss you so much, she kept saying. Come home safe. Just come home safe. I kissed her forehead. I'll be careful, I promise, and we'll video call all the time. It'll fly by. She gave me this countdown calendar, one of those cheesy tear-off-a-page-each-day things. I got one for me, too, she said. We'll mark off every single day until you come home. I tucked it into my bag. I didn't know then that I'd end up staring at that calendar in a tent in Afghanistan, doing the math on how many days they'd been together. Before I went inside, I met up with Joshua. He'd driven separately to say goodbye. I gave him a hug, which isn't something we did a lot, but it felt right. Take care of her, okay? I said. She gets nervous at night. Check on her sometimes. Of course, bro, he said. Don't even worry about it. She's safe with me. I handed him my spare house key. I'd already given one to Emma, my sister, but she lived 2 hours away. Joshua was 15 minutes away. Just for emergencies, I said. You know, if something breaks or if she gets freaked out about a noise or whatever. He pocketed the key, clapped me on the shoulder. I got you, Mike. Focus on the mission. I'll keep an eye on things here. I got you, Mike. I'll keep an eye on things here. I replay those words in my head sometimes. I wonder if he meant them when he said them, or if he already knew what was going to happen, if it was premeditated or if it just happened. Not that it matters. Betrayal is betrayal. I flew out that afternoon, Raleigh to DC, to Germany, to Qatar, to Afghanistan. 36 hours of travel, barely any sleep. Just sitting in a C-17 with 100 other soldiers. All of us processing in our own ways. Some guys slept, some listened to music. I stared out the window when there was something to see and stared at nothing when there wasn't. When we landed at Bagram Air Base, it was 2 a.m. local time. Pitch black except for the runway lights. Hot as hell even in the middle of the night. That heavy, dry heat that hits you like a wall. We got hustled onto buses, driven out to fire-based lightning, got briefed on our assignments. I was leading a platoon, 40 guys, mix of experienced and green. My job was to keep them alive while we did our job. Simple on paper, brutal in practice. The first month was exactly what you'd expect. Long days, short nights, sporadic internet. The fire base had Wi-Fi, but it was unreliable, and we had to ration bandwidth. I could usually get online for 30 minutes to an hour each evening. I used that time to video call Jessica. Those first few weeks, we talked 3 times a week. She'd show me around the house, tell me about work. "Beth is being such a bitch lately," she'd say, talking about her coworker. "She keeps taking the early appointments and leaving me with all the kids. You know how much I hate doing kids' cleanings." I'd laugh. We'd talk about nothing. Normal married couple stuff. Sometimes Joshua would pop into frame. "Just stop by to check on her," he'd say, waving at the camera. I'd wave back. "Thanks, man. Appreciate it." Everything seemed fine, normal, routine. But around week 5, I started noticing little changes. Nothing obvious, just shifts. Jessica called less. We went from 3 times a week to once a week, then every 10 days. Her excuses were always reasonable. "Work picked up. I'm covering for another hygienist who's out." "I'm so tired, Mike. I can barely keep my eyes open." Time zones are hard to coordinate. All of which was true. I was 7.5 hours ahead of North Carolina. When it was evening for me, it was late morning for her. Scheduling was tricky, but it felt off. If you've ever been in a long-distance relationship or been deployed, you know what I mean. You can tell when someone's energy is different, when they're distracted, when they're there but not really there. When we did manage to connect, she seemed distracted. She'd laugh at things I couldn't hear, then quickly refocus on me. "Sorry, what?" she'd say. "I missed that." I'd repeat myself. She'd nod, but her eyes would be somewhere else. I also noticed she started wearing makeup on our video calls. That probably sounds like a weird thing to notice, but Jessica almost never wore makeup at home. She was a wash her face and be done kind of person. But suddenly, every time we video called, she had full makeup, eyeliner, lipstick, the works. Her hair was done. Not like thrown up in a ponytail done. Actually styled. "You look nice," I said one time, trying to sound casual. "Oh," she said, touching her hair. "I just felt like putting effort in. Is that a crime?" "No, of course not. You look great." But it stuck with me. Why put on makeup to video call your husband? Unless you were going somewhere after. Unless you wanted to look good for someone else. I tried to push the thoughts away. Deployment paranoia is a real thing. Guys in my unit talked about it all the time. You're thousands of miles away, you can't control anything at home, your brain starts inventing problems. I told myself that's all it was. Just my mind playing tricks because I was stressed and exhausted. Around day 60, my sister Emma sent me a message on Facebook Messenger. Emma's 3 years older than me, married with 2 kids, lives in Durham, about 2 hours from Fayetteville. We've always been close. She's protective of me in that older sister way. "Hey Mike," she wrote, "I drove by your house last week to drop off that book Jessica wanted to borrow. I knocked, but she wasn't home. When I finally caught her on the phone later, she seemed, I don't know, really happy, like really happy, upbeat, laughing a lot. I mean, that's great, right? But it seemed like a lot for someone whose husband is deployed. Is she making new friends or something?" I stared at that message for a long time, really happy, while I was in a combat zone. I should have been glad, right? I should have wanted her to be happy, to be handling my absence well. But instead, it made my stomach turn. I brought it up on our next call, tried to keep it casual. "Hey, Emma mentioned you seem really happy lately. That's great, babe. What's been going on?" Jessica's face flickered, just for a second. Then she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I mean, I'm not happy you're gone, obviously, but I'm not going to be miserable every second, Mike. I have to live my life." "Of course," I said quickly. "I want you to be happy. I'm not saying, are you checking up on me? Did you ask Emma to spy on me?" "What? No. She just mentioned it. I thought it was good news." "Well, it is. I'm doing fine. I'm handling things. Isn't that what you want?" "Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make it sound like, I need to go. I have an early shift tomorrow." She hung up before I could say anything else. The call had lasted 7 minutes. I sat there in the communications tent, staring at the black screen, feeling like I'd just stepped on a landmine. What the hell just happened? I'd complimented her on being happy, and she'd gotten defensive and angry. Why? Unless there was something to be defensive about. But I pushed it down, told myself I was being paranoid, told myself deployment was messing with my head. Then came the money thing. It was day 70. We'd just come back from a 3-day patrol. I was exhausted and filthy and wanted to sleep for a week, but I had a routine. Check in with family, check email, check bank account. Military life teaches you to stay on top of finances. Too many guys get in trouble because they're not paying attention, and someone back home is draining accounts or running up credit cards. I logged into our joint checking account, scanned the recent transactions, and stopped. $4,200, hotel charge, Asheville, North Carolina, 4-night stay, 11 days ago, $1,800, airline charge, 2 tickets, 8 days ago, multiple restaurant charges, places I'd never heard of, towns nowhere near Fayetteville, all within a 2-week window, all while I'd been on patrol with limited comms, all while I couldn't check in or ask questions. I did the math in my head. I was getting paid about $6,000 a month, including hazard pay and combat pay. That was automatically direct deposited into our joint account. Jessica made about $3,500 a month. We were putting about $9,000 a month into that account, and our bills were maybe $4,000. We should have been building savings, but we weren't. The balance was about the same as it had been 2 months ago. Where was the money going? I scrolled back further, looked at the previous month, another hotel, Charleston, 3 nights, $1,400, more restaurants, more unexplained charges. My hands were shaking. I took a screenshot of everything. Then I closed the laptop and sat there in the tent, trying to breathe normally. There were explanations, I told myself. Maybe she went on a trip with her girlfriends. Maybe she needed a break. Maybe the airline charge was for something innocent. Maybe. But $2,300 on travel in 2 weeks, on top of whatever she'd spent the month before, while I was deployed? I waited 3 days before I could get good enough internet to video call her. 3 days of spinning out, imagining scenarios, trying to tell myself I was wrong. When she finally answered, I kept my voice calm. Military training. Never show your cards until you know what you're dealing with. Hey babe, how are you? Good. Busy day at work. I'm exhausted. I bet. Hey, I was checking our bank account earlier. You know, just making sure everything's good. And I saw some charges I didn't recognize. Just wanted to check in about them. Her face changed. I watched it happen in real time. From relaxed to tense. From open to closed. You're checking up on me? I'm not checking up on you. I check our accounts all the time. That's just normal. Which charges? The hotel in Asheville. The airline tickets. What was that? And then she exploded. Just went from 0 to 60 in a second. You don't trust me? Seriously? Do you know how hard this is for me, Mike? You're over there, and I'm here dealing with everything alone. I can't have one good time without you interrogating me. I'm not interrogating. It was a girls' trip, Sarah and Beth from work. We went to Asheville for a long weekend because we all needed a break. Then Beth found a deal on flights to Hawaii, so we went. God, am I not allowed to do anything while you're gone? She pulled her phone out, shoved it toward the camera. There was a photo on the screen, Jessica and 2 women I vaguely recognized. Somewhere tropical, all wearing swimsuits and smiling. See, girls' trip. Are you happy now? I stared at the photo. It looked real. It looked innocent. I'm sorry, I heard myself say. I'm not trying to accuse you of anything. The amount surprised me, and I wanted to make sure everything was okay. Well, everything's fine. I'm fine. I'm handling everything here just fine. Maybe if you trusted me a little more, these conversations would be easier. I do trust you. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up like that. I need to go. I'll talk to you later. She hung up. I sat there feeling like a complete asshole. Like I'd just interrogated my wife for having a life while I was deployed. Like I was the bad guy. But something didn't sit right. The way she'd gotten so defensive so fast. The way she'd turned it around on me. The way she'd had that photo ready, like she'd been expecting the question. I called Emma. It was early morning for her, but she answered. Mike, you okay? Can you do me a favor? Can you stop by the house sometime this week? Just unannounced. Just check on Jessica. Tell her you were in the area. There was a pause. Mike, what's going on? I don't know. Maybe nothing. but something feels wrong and I can't shake it. Okay, Emma said slowly. I'll go by this weekend, Saturday morning. Thanks. And Em, don't tell her I asked you to, just make it seem random. Got it. 3 days later, Emma called me. It was 2 a.m. my time. I was still awake, couldn't sleep. I answered on the first ring. Well? Mike. Emma's voice was careful, hesitant. I stopped by. Jessica answered the door. She was in an oversized hoodie, men's size. Definitely not yours. I know your hoodies. My chest tightened. Okay. There were shoes by the door, men's shoes, size 11. I checked the tag. You're a 10. Maybe they're old ones I forgot. They were new, Jordan brand. You've never worn Jordans in your life. She paused. Mike, there was beer in the fridge. Sam Adams. You drink Budweiser. Joshua drinks Sam Adams. I didn't say it out loud, but Emma knew. She knew Joshua, knew his brand. There was a pile of mail on the counter, Emma continued. I saw it when I was standing in the doorway. One of the envelopes was addressed to Joshua, at your address. I couldn't breathe. What did Jessica say? I asked casually if she'd been having people stay over. She said Joshua stays sometimes to keep her company, that it's innocent, that you know about it. I don't know about it. I know he checks on her. I don't know he's sleeping over. I figured. Emma's voice was gentle. Mike, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but he's sleeping with my wife. You don't know that for sure. I gave him my house key. I told him to take care of her, and he's sleeping over while I'm deployed. What are you going to do? I don't know. I can't exactly come home right now. Do you want me to confront her? No, not yet. Let me think. I hung up, sat in the dark. And that's when I remembered the Ring doorbell camera. I'd installed it 6 months before deployment. Jessica had been nervous about break-ins, about being alone at night. I'd gotten the full Ring setup, doorbell camera, 2 outdoor cameras, even a couple indoor cameras for the living room and kitchen. For security, I'd told her. So, you can check on things from your phone, and so can I. I hadn't checked the app once since deploying. Too busy, too trusting. I pulled out my phone, opened the Ring app, logged in. The loading circle spun, then the dashboard loaded. 4 cameras, all active. 90 days of saved footage. I started with the doorbell camera. Started scrolling through the timeline. Fast-forwarding through days. Day 11 of my deployment. 11:02 p.m. Joshua's car pulls into the driveway. I watched him get out, walk to the door, use his key to let himself in. The timestamp ticked forward. 11:47 p.m. The light in the living room was still on, visible through the window. Midnight, still on. 1 a.m., still on. Then nothing until 6:47 a.m., when Joshua came out the front door, got in his car, and drove away. He'd spent the night, day 11. 11 days after I deployed, I kept scrolling. Day 15, same pattern. Car arrives 10:30 p.m., leaves 7:15 a.m. Day 18, day 22, day 25, day 29, day 33. He was staying over 5 times a week, every week for 2 months. Then I found day 34. 11:47 p.m. The doorbell camera had night vision. I watched my wife and my best friend come home together. Jessica was carrying a to-go bag from a restaurant. Joshua had his arm around her waist. They were laughing about something. At the door, she turned to say something to him. He smiled, pulled her close, and kissed her. Not a peck, not a friendly kiss, a real kiss. His hand in her hair, her arms around his neck. 8 seconds. I counted. 8 seconds of my wife kissing my best friend on my front porch while I was 6,000 miles away. Then they went inside, together. The living room light stayed on until 1:23 a.m. I was sitting in an equipment tent at Firebase Lightning, surrounded by other soldiers trying to sleep, and I had to step outside before I started hyperventilating. I walked to the back of a shipping container where no one could see me and threw up in the dirt. One of my guys, Private First Class Jackson, found me a few minutes later. "Captain? You good, sir?" I wiped my mouth. "Family stuff. I'll handle it." "You need anything, sir?" "No, thanks, Jackson. Get some sleep." He hesitated, then nodded and left. I stayed there for another 30 minutes, leaning against that shipping container, trying to process what I'd just seen. My wife was having an affair with my best friend while I was deployed in my house, In my bed, probably. Using the key I'd given him. Using the trust I'd placed in both of them. And I was stuck here for another 147 days. I went back to my bunk. Pulled out my laptop. Logged into our bank account again. This time, I didn't just scan. I documented everything. I created a spreadsheet, every hotel charge, every restaurant, every unexplained expense. I cross-referenced dates with the Ring camera footage, built a timeline. Day 21, hotel in Charleston, 1,400s for 3 nights. Ring footage shows both of their cars gone from Thursday evening to Sunday afternoon. Day 32, 2 airline tickets, $1,800. Ring footage shows neither car in the driveway from Friday to Wednesday. 5 days. I checked my text messages from that week. Jessica had said she was staying with a friend who was going through a breakup. I'd believed her. Day 54. Another hotel. Asheville. 4 nights. Another 1-800. I'd been on patrol that week. No contact. They'd spent over $23,000. My combat pay. My hazard pay. The extra money I was getting for literally risking my life. They spent it on hotels and vacations and romantic dinners. I was serving my country. They were serving themselves. I sat there for hours, just looking at the numbers, the dates, the patterns, trying to decide what to do. I couldn't call Jessica and confront her. What was the point? She'd just lie more. I couldn't fly home. I was in the middle of a deployment. I couldn't tell anyone in my unit. They didn't need to be distracted by my personal drama. So I did the only thing I could think of. I called a private investigator, found a guy named Rick. His website said he specialized in military family cases, infidelity investigations. I called him on a satellite phone from the base. Rick's Investigations, he answered. Hi, my name is Captain Michael Thompson. I'm currently deployed in Afghanistan. I think my wife is having an affair, and I need someone to document everything. There was a pause. I'm sorry to hear that, Captain. Walk me through what you know. I told him everything. The ring footage, the bank statements, Joshua, Emma's visit, all of it. Rick was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I can help you. My rate is $2,500 up front, then $150 an hour. I'll do surveillance, take photos, document patterns. I can also install additional cameras if needed. As long as you own the property, it's legal. How long until you're back stateside? 5 months, give or take. That's plenty of time. I'll get you everything you need. By the time you come home, you'll have an airtight case. How do I pay you? I'll send you an invoice. You can pay from overseas. Do it. I used money from my savings account. Didn't care about the cost. This was worth every penny. Over the next 137 days, from day 28 of my deployment to day 147, Rick sent me weekly reports, encrypted emails with photos attached, time-stamped surveillance logs, everything documented with military precision. He confirmed Joshua was visiting the house 5 to 6 times per week, staying overnight the majority of those times. He installed 2 additional hidden cameras inside the house, one in the living room with a better angle, one in the kitchen. Legal, because my name was on the deed and Jessica wasn't the sole occupant. The footage Rick sent was worse than the Ring doorbell stuff, because now I could see everything. Them cooking dinner together in my kitchen, moving around each other like a couple who'd been together for years. Sitting on my couch, her head on his shoulder, his hand absently playing with her hair while they watched TV. Laughing, talking, comfortable. I listened to their conversations. In one clip, Jessica asked, "When are you going to tell him?" Joshua responded, "Tell him what?" About us. Joshua was quiet for a moment, then said, "After he gets back. We'll tell him together. I don't want to do it while he's deployed. That would be cruel." Cruel. The word echoed in my head for days. They thought telling me while I was deployed would be cruel, but sleeping together for 5 months wasn't cruel. Spending my money wasn't cruel. Moving into my house wasn't cruel. Another clip from week 16. They were having wine, sitting on the floor by the coffee table. Jessica raised her glass. "To freedom," she said. They clinked glasses. The camera angle showed what they were sitting in front of. My Purple Heart ceremony photo. The framed picture from when I'd received the medal for injuries sustained in my first deployment. They were using it as a coaster. 2 wine glasses sitting directly on top of the frame. When I saw that, I had to close my laptop. walk outside, sit behind a storage container and just breathe. My vision was blurring. My hands were shaking. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. I wanted to get on a plane right then and fly home and kick down the door but I didn't. Because I was on a fire base in Afghanistan and I had a job to do, and because I realized something in that moment, sitting in the dirt behind that container at 3 a.m., I had 147 days. 147 days to build a case so complete, so airtight that they couldn't deny it, couldn't minimize it, couldn't gaslight me. 147 days to document every lie, every dollar, every moment. And when I came home, I would make sure they both faced exactly what they deserved. So that's what I did. I became methodical, clinical, I compartmentalized. When I was on patrol, I focused on the mission, kept my guys safe, did my job. But every spare moment, every hour of downtime, I was building my case. Rick kept sending reports. I kept organizing them into a master file, timeline spreadsheet, financial audit, video compilation, 67 pages of documentation, 47 video clips, totaling 93 minutes of footage, every hotel receipt, every restaurant charge, every lie cross-referenced with evidence. I didn't confront Jessica, didn't confront Joshua. I answered Jessica's occasional video calls like nothing was wrong. "How are you?" she'd ask. "Busy," I'd say. "How are you?" "Good," she'd say. "Missing you." The lies came so easily to her. Joshua texted me a few times. "Hey man, hope you're safe over there. Checked on Jessica today, she's doing great. Can't wait for you to get home. We'll grab beers." I responded with brief, non-committal replies. "Thanks. Appreciate it. Sounds good." I was serving my country. They were serving themselves. And they had no idea I was watching everything. Around day 110, something shifted in me. The acute pain, the raw, bleeding heartbreak, started to calcify into something colder, harder. I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry, but it wasn't the hot, explosive anger that makes you do stupid things. It was cold, focused, strategic. I talked to the unit chaplain, confidential conversations, told him vaguely about family issues. He helped me process without asking too many questions. "Remember, Captain," he said, "whatever you do when you get home, make sure you're acting from a place of justice, not revenge. There's a difference." I nodded, but I wasn't sure there was a difference. Not for me. Not after what they'd done. I also started planning the logistics. Day 115, I reached out to a military legal assistance attorney on base, told him I needed advice about divorce, showed him the evidence I'd compiled. He looked at it for a long time, then looked up at me. "Captain, this is one of the most well-documented infidelity cases I've ever seen. You'll be fine in divorce proceedings, more than fine." "What about the money?" "She spent marital funds on an extramarital affair. You can absolutely pursue reimbursement. And given that it was during your deployment, with funds specifically designated as combat pay, a judge will not be sympathetic to her. You'll get every penny back, plus attorney fees." "What's the process?" He walked me through it. Filing for legal separation first, then divorce after I returned, mandatory mediation in North Carolina before it could go to trial, discovery, asset division. "I have a question," I said. "The mediation, can I present evidence there?" "Of course, that's part of the point. Both parties present their case, and the mediator helps facilitate a settlement." "Can I present video evidence? Like, actually play videos?" He studied me. "You want to show her the footage?" "I want everyone in that room to see it. Her lawyer, the mediator. I want it on the record." "That's allowed, yes. Unusual, but allowed. Most people just submit written evidence. But if you want to present video testimony, that's within your rights." "I want to do that." He nodded slowly. "Then I'd recommend you hire a civilian attorney too, someone who can help you strategize. Military legal assistants can only do so much. I can give you some names." He wrote down 3 names. I called the first one the next day. Diane. 50-something, been practicing family law for 20 years. I told her the situation over a crackling satellite connection. "How much evidence do you have?" she asked. 67 pages of documentation, 47 video clips, financial audit showing $23,000 spent on the affair. She was quiet for a moment. "Captain, I'm going to be honest with you. This is the most well-documented case I've ever seen in my career. We're going to destroy her in negotiations. That's the plan. But you need to be smart about timing. Don't push for divorce immediately when you get home. File for legal separation now, which protects you, but wait to file for divorce until you've had time to adjust to being stateside. You don't want to make decisions from a place of emotional distress. I've had 5 months to process this. I'm not in emotional distress. I'm focused. Even so, trust me on this. File separation now. Wait on divorce. It also gives us time to prepare. North Carolina requires mediation before trial anyway. We can use that to our advantage. How? You want her to see the footage, right? You want her to sit in a room and face what she did? Yes. Mediation is perfect for that. It's a controlled environment. She can't run. She has to sit there with you, me, her attorney, and a neutral mediator. We present the evidence. She has to watch herself on video. Then we negotiate from a position of total strength. I felt something tighten in my chest. When can we schedule it? As soon as you're back stateside and ready, I'd recommend giving yourself 2 weeks to adjust. Then we go. I'll file the separation paperwork this week. When you land, we'll schedule the mediation. Do it. Over the next 4 months, Diane and I communicated regularly. I sent her the evidence files. She organized everything into a presentation, timeline, financial breakdown, video compilation, edited into a 45-minute segment with timestamps and context. I also took care of the practical stuff, opened a separate bank account, changed my direct deposit, changed all my passwords, cut Jessica off from joint accounts, legally allowed under the separation filing. Jessica noticed. Day 165, she called me panicking. Mike, what the hell? I tried to use our debit card and it got declined. What's going on? I filed for legal separation, I said calmly. I've moved my paychecks to a separate account. You still have access to savings, but not to my income. What? Why? Her voice was high, panicked. What's happening? We'll talk when I get home. Mike, please, talk to me now. What's going on? I know about Joshua. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then, what do you mean? I know, Jessica. I've known for months. We'll discuss it when I get home. Until then, don't contact me unless it's an emergency. I hung up, blocked her number, felt nothing. The next day, Joshua texted me. Bro, Jessica called me crying. What's going on? Can we talk? I responded with one message. We're done. Don't ever contact me again. Stay away from veterans events. You're not welcome. He tried calling. I didn't answer. He sent more texts. Please, man, let me explain. It's not what you think. I'm so sorry. I didn't read them, just blocked his number too. My unit noticed the change in me. I was quieter, more focused. Stopped joining the guys for cards or movies in downtime. Just worked out, did my job, and organized my evidence files. Captain, you good? One of my sergeants asked me around Day 180. Fine. You seem different, sir. Just ready to go home and handle some business. He nodded. Didn't push. That's the thing about military guys. They know when not to ask. The last 3 months of deployment dragged. Every day felt like a week, but I didn't rush, didn't make mistakes. I'd waited this long. I could wait a little longer. Day 270. Official end of deployment. We packed up, turned in our gear, boarded the transport planes. 36 hours of travel. Afghanistan to Qatar to Germany to D.C. to North Carolina. I landed at Raleigh-Durham Airport at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. No welcome home ceremony, no family waiting. Just Emma, who'd agreed to pick me up. She hugged me tight. You okay? I will be. We drove to her house in silence. I stayed in her guest room. That first night back, I couldn't sleep. Jet lag, sure, but also adrenaline. The knowledge that in 2 weeks I'd be sitting across from Jessica in a mediation room. I spent those 2 weeks adjusting, sleeping normal hours, eating normal food, working out, seeing a therapist through the VA. Diane had recommended it, said I needed to make sure I was mentally prepared for what was coming. How do you feel about the mediation? Dr. Martinez asked. He was a former Marine, worked exclusively with combat vets. He got it. Ready? Are you doing this for closure or for revenge? Is there a difference? He was quiet for a moment. Sometimes Closure is about processing your pain and moving forward. Revenge is about making them hurt the way you hurt. Maybe it's both. That's fair. Just make sure you know which one you need more. Because revenge might feel good in the moment, but it doesn't always heal you. I nodded. Didn't tell him I'd already made up my mind. The mediation was scheduled for day 15 after I landed, a Tuesday afternoon. Diane's office had a conference room with a big TV. We'd present everything there. The night before, I laid out my dress uniform, Class A's, full ribbons and badges, every award I'd earned, including the Purple Heart. Diane noticed when I walked into her office the next morning. "You're wearing your uniform?" "Yes." She smiled, a small, knowing smile. "Psychological warfare. I like it. Remind them exactly who they disrespected." Jessica arrived 15 minutes late. I was already sitting at the conference table. Her attorney, Mark, was with her. Mark was a local family law guy, probably competent, but he had no idea what he was walking into. Jessica saw me in uniform and her face went white. She opened her mouth like she was going to say something, then closed it, sat down across from me, wouldn't make eye contact. The mediator, Patricia, arrived last. She was a retired family court judge, early 60s, professional. She had been briefed on the basics, but hadn't seen our evidence yet. "Good afternoon," Patricia said. "This is a voluntary mediation to discuss asset division, spousal support, and terms of divorce for Michael and Jessica Thompson. Everything discussed here is confidential, unless—" "Ma'am," I interrupted politely, "I have evidence to present that will significantly impact negotiations. May I?" Patricia nodded. "Of course, that's part of the process." I slid 3 folders across the table, one to Patricia, one to Mark, one to Jessica. "This is a complete timeline of my wife's affair during my deployment," I said. My voice was calm, flat. "Including financial records showing misappropriation of my combat pay. 67 pages, 47 video files, $23,127 in unauthorized spending." Jessica made a small noise, almost like a whimper. Mark opened his folder, started flipping through. His expression changed as he read. From professional neutrality to shock. Patricia scanned the executive summary, looked up at me. "Captain Thompson, this is quite detailed." "Yes, ma'am." Jessica was staring at the cover page. I'd titled it clearly. "Evidence of infidelity and financial malfeasance, Jessica Marie Thompson and Joshua Robert Bennett, September 2023 to February 2024. "You can read it," I said, "or I can show you the videos. Your choice." Mark looked at Jessica. She was crying, silently, tears streaming down her face. "Jessica," he said quietly, "is this accurate?" She nodded, couldn't speak. "Then I recommend we watch the videos," Mark said. "So we all know exactly what we're dealing with." I connected my laptop to the TV, opened the file Diane and I had prepared, 45 minutes of footage, edited, time-stamped, annotated. I pressed play. The first title card appeared, Timeline of Betrayal, September 2023 to February 2024. Then the footage began. Ring doorbell camera, day 11, 11:02 p.m. Joshua's car pulling into the driveway, him using the key to enter. Timestamp ticking forward, 6:47 a.m., him leaving. The video showed this pattern repeating, day 15, day 18, day 22. Faster now, cutting between dates, establishing the frequency. 4, 5, 6 nights a week. Then, day 34. The kiss on the front porch, 8 seconds. The video slowed down for this part, showing it clearly. His hand in her hair, her arms around his neck. Then them going inside together. Jessica was sobbing now, hands over her face. Mark looked uncomfortable. Patricia was taking notes, her face unreadable. The video continued. Hidden living room camera footage. Them on the couch together. Intimate, comfortable, laughing. The audio played. "When are you going to tell him?" Jessica's voice. "Tell him what?" Joshua. "About us." Pause. "After he gets back. We'll tell him together. I don't want to do it while he's deployed. That would be cruel." I watched the mediator's face when that line played. Her expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Next segment, financial records. A spreadsheet appeared on screen, overlaying the footage. Every charge, every hotel, every restaurant, every expense, all totaling $23,127.18. Then the clips from the hotels, Rick's surveillance footage, Jessica and Joshua entering hotels together, carrying overnight bags, leaving the next morning, the Hawaii trip, airport photos, resort check-in, beach photos of them together, holding hands, looking like a couple. Mark was reading through the folder while the video played. Jesus Christ, he muttered. Then came the worst part. The part I'd specifically requested Rick to enhance and clean up. Day 82. Living room footage. Jessica and Joshua sitting on the floor by the coffee table, wine glasses in hand, the camera angle clearly showing what was on the table behind them. My Purple Heart ceremony photo, in a frame, with 2 wine glasses sitting directly on top of it, using my medal ceremony as a coaster. I paused the video there. That photo, I said quietly, is from a ceremony where I received a Purple Heart for injuries sustained in my first deployment. They were using it as a coaster. The silence in that room was absolute. Patricia's pen had stopped moving. Mark looked ill. Jessica was crying so hard she was gasping for air. I let the pause sit for 10 seconds, then pressed play again. Final segment. More surveillance footage. Week after week of them together. The compilation showed 147 days of pattern. Then the last clip. Day 151. Night vision from the hallway camera in my house. Timestamp, 11:47 p.m. Jessica and Joshua asleep in my bed. The video ended with a final title card. Total duration, 147 days. Total misappropriated funds, $23,227.18. Betrayal of trust, immeasurable. Screen went black. No one spoke. Jessica was still sobbing. Mark looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Patricia set down her pen and removed her glasses. "Mr. Bennett," she said. "Mark, perhaps you and your client need a recess to confer?" Mark stood immediately. "Yes, we need 15 minutes. They left the room. I could hear Jessica crying in the hallway. Mark's voice low and urgent. "Jessica, you realize there's no defending this, right? The evidence is overwhelming. We're going to have to give him everything he wants." "I didn't know he was documenting it all," Jessica sobbed. "I didn't know." "It doesn't matter. He owns the house. He has proof of adultery. He has proof of financial misconduct. This is the worst case I've seen in 15 years. We're going to settle, right now." I sat at the table with Diane. She leaned over. "How do you feel?" "Empty," I said, and I meant it. I'd spent 147 days planning this moment. I thought it would feel like victory, like vindication. Instead, I just felt hollow, tired. "That's normal," she said. "Revenge doesn't heal the wound, it just closes it." They came back after 20 minutes. Jessica's eyes were swollen nearly shut. Mark sat down heavily. "Captain Thompson," he said, "my client acknowledges the affair. She acknowledges the financial misconduct. We are prepared to negotiate a settlement." I slid another sheet of paper across the table. "Here are my terms." Mark picked it up, read it, looked at Jessica. She nodded miserably. "These are quite one-sided," Mark said. "Your client committed adultery during my deployment to a combat zone and stole my combat pay," I said. My voice was still calm, still flat. "North Carolina is not a no-fault state. If this goes to court, she'll get less than this. We both know it." Mark looked at Patricia. "Can you speak to the reasonableness of these terms?" Patricia looked at me, then at the terms. "Given the evidence presented, these terms are within acceptable ranges for a contested divorce with proof of adultery and financial misconduct. I would advise your client to accept them." Mark showed the paper to Jessica. She read it through her tears, nodded. The terms were simple. 1. Jessica returns $23,127.18 to Michael, full financial reimbursement. 2. Jessica receives 0 equity from the house, Michael's name only on deed. 3. No spousal support, jars alimony. 4. Jessica keeps her car and personal belongings, only 5. Divorce finalized within 30 days. 6. All video evidence remains confidential unless either party violates terms. "There's one more condition," I said. "If Jessica or Joshua contact me, my family, or spread false information about this divorce, I will share every piece of this evidence with every mutual friend, every family member, and every military community contact I have. If they leave me alone, the footage stays private. Are we clear?" Jessica's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes." I need to hear you say you agree." "I agree," she choked out. "I agree to everything. I'm so sorry, Mike. I'm so sorry." "You're sorry you got caught," I said. "There's a difference." Patricia drew up the settlement agreement right there. We all signed it. Jessica's hand was shaking so badly she could barely write her name. When we were done, Patricia said, "This mediation is concluded. The settlement will be filed with the court. You should have a final divorce decree within 6 weeks." I stood up, put my cover back on, looked at Jessica one more time. She was still crying, hunched over in her chair. "I served my country," I said quietly. "You served yourself. I hope it was worth it." Then I walked out. Diane walked me to my car. "That was brutal," she said. "One of the hardest mediations I've ever sat through. How are you feeling?" I unlocked my car door. "Honestly, I don't know." "That's fair. Do you feel like you got justice?" "I feel like I got something. Not sure if it's justice or just revenge. Maybe there's no difference." She put her hand on my shoulder. "For what it's worth, I think you handled it exactly right. You documented everything. You presented the truth. You let the evidence speak for itself. There's dignity in that." I nodded. Didn't trust my voice. I drove to Emma's house. She was waiting on the porch, took one look at my face, and hugged me. "It's done? It's done. Do you feel better?" "I feel tired." She led me inside, made me tea, let me sit in silence for an hour before asking anything else. That night, I texted Joshua. First message since day 161. "We're done. Never contact me again. Stay away from veterans events. You're not welcome." His response came immediately. "Mike, please, let me explain. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened. I'm so sorry." I stared at that message for a long time. It just happened. Like he'd tripped and fallen into a 5-month affair. Like he'd accidentally used my key and my house and my money. "Nothing just happens for 4 months while your best friend is deployed. You piece of shit," I typed. Then I blocked his number, deleted his contact, deleted every photo I had with him, erased him. The next few weeks were strange. The divorce was finalized in 33 days. Jessica paid back the money in installments from a loan her parents gave her. Every time a payment hit my account, I felt weird. Not happy, not vindicated, just weird. Word started to spread. Emma told her husband, who told his VFW buddies. Within 2 weeks, the local military community knew the basic story. Captain got betrayed by his wife and best friend during deployment, used as combat pay for their affair, got caught with video evidence. The reaction was intense. Joshua started getting cold shoulders at bars. Someone slashed his tires, not me. I was at Emma's house that night, had an alibi. His own family found out when his sister called Jessica's friend to ask what happened. His father, a deacon at their Catholic church, stopped speaking to him. "You dishonored our family, and you dishonored a man serving his country," his father told him, according to mutual friends. Joshua lost 4 insurance clients who were veterans. They explicitly said they didn't want to work with someone who'd betrayed a deployed soldier. He eventually moved to Tennessee for a fresh start. Jessica moved in with her parents, quit her job because she couldn't handle the questions and the shame. Someone at her office had heard through the community grapevine. She eventually moved to Arizona, 2,000 miles away. Our friend group from college imploded. 12 people on a group text. Within a month, it had splintered. Half sided with me. Some stayed neutral. One person, Joshua's old roommate, defended him. "People make mistakes," he said. I left the group chat. I didn't need to litigate this with everyone, but the community reaction, that's when I started to feel uneasy. 3 weeks after the mediation, I got a Facebook message from Jessica's cousin. "Please pray for Jessica. She attempted suicide last night. She's stable now, but in the hospital." I stared at that message for a long time. My hands were shaking. I called Emma. "Did I do this? Mike, if she dies, is that on me? She made her choices. You revealing those choices didn't make her do anything. But showing those videos, making sure everyone knew, the community response, did I push her too far?" Emma was quiet. Then, "I don't know. Maybe the revenge went beyond the mediation. But Mike, she betrayed you. She stole from you. She disrespected everything you sacrificed." "I know. But does that justify this?" I sat with that question for days. replayed everything, the mediation, the threat to share the videos publicly if they violated the settlement, the way I'd known word would spread in the military community, the way I'd counted on it. I texted Jessica's mom. "I'm sorry to hear about Jessica. I hope she gets help. For what it's worth, I never wanted this." Her mom responded immediately. "She's alive. That's all that matters. Please leave her alone now." "I will, I promise." And I did. I deleted the backup copies of the videos I'd planned to share if they violated the settlement. All the evidence gone except for my personal records. I was done. The revenge gave me something, closure maybe, or justice. But it didn't heal me, and I wasn't going to let it consume me. Jessica recovered, went into intensive therapy. 6 months later, her father, Tom, the Vietnam vet who'd sent me that supportive text after the mediation, emailed me. "Michael," he wrote, "I wanted you to know, Jessica is doing better. She's in Arizona now, working as a hygienist again, seeing a good therapist. She talks about taking accountability. I'm proud of her for that. She asks me not to share this, but I wanted you to know. She's not trying to hurt herself anymore. She knows she ruined a good thing. That's on her. I hope you found peace too. You're a good man. Tom." I sat with that email for a long time. Then I wrote back, "Tom, thank you for telling me. I'm glad she's getting help and building a new life. I've found peace too, or I'm working on it. No hard feelings toward you or your wife. Take care." My kill. I didn't ask about Joshua, didn't want to know. Last I heard, through a mutual friend who was still in contact with him. He'd moved to Tennessee, was working for a different insurance company, was dating someone new, but mostly kept to himself. I didn't care. He was gone from my life. That was enough. As for me, it took time, a lot of time. I started seeing Dr. Martinez regularly. Every week, we did EMDR therapy for the nightmares. Because, yeah, I had nightmares. I'd dream about opening that bedroom door on day 151, about watching the ring footage, about the mediation, about Jessica's cousin's message. He helped me process all of it. I also joined a group therapy session with other veterans who had been through relationship betrayals during deployment. Turns out I wasn't alone. Military deployment infidelity is heartbreakingly common. Hearing other guys' stories, realizing I wasn't uniquely cursed, that helped. I rebuilt my social life slowly, made new friends through veteran groups, started hiking again, joined a running club, ran a marathon 8 months after getting home. Bucket list item, and my therapist said physical challenges help with trauma processing. When I crossed that finish line, I cried, not from pain, from release. I met someone new eventually. Her name is Sarah. She's a friend of Emma's, works at a nonprofit, also divorced. Her ex-husband cheated on her too, not during a deployment, but the pain was similar. We understood each other in ways that felt safe. We took it slow, really slow, friends for 6 months. Then I asked her to dinner. "I'd like this to be a date," I said, "if you're open to it." "I was hoping you'd ask," she said. "But let's take it slow. We both have baggage." Slow works for me. We dated for a year before I said, "I love you." Another year before, we moved in together. Built trust from the ground up, brick by brick. 2.5 years after deployment ended, I'm living with Sarah. We're engaged, set to get married next spring. I finished my MBA. I work part-time at a veteran nonprofit, helping other vets transition to civilian life. I left active duty but stayed in the reserves. I'm building a life I actually like. Sometimes people ask me if the revenge was worth it. Honestly, I don't know. It gave me closure in the moment. It gave me control when I felt powerless. I got to present the truth, make them face what they'd done, get financial restitution. That mattered, that meant something. But it didn't erase the betrayal. It didn't make me stop hurting. The mediation was satisfying for about 10 minutes, and then I just felt empty, and the aftermath. Jessica's suicide attempt, the social fallout, the way the military community turned on them, that stuff still sits heavy sometimes. I wonder if I went too far. Then I remember the Purple Heart photo with the wine glasses. I remember being in Afghanistan, watching the ring footage, knowing they were using my sacrifice to fund their affair. And I think, no, they earned consequences. But I also think about Jessica's cousin's message. About the fact that showing the truth in a mediation room is one thing, but making sure the truth spread through an entire community is another. About how the line between justice and revenge is thinner than I thought. If you're going through something like this, here's what I'll say. Protect yourself. Document everything. Get good lawyers. Don't make decisions from a place of raw emotion. Wait until you can think clearly. But also, don't let revenge consume you. Get the justice you need. Set your boundaries. Make sure they face consequences. But then walk away. Don't let it become your whole identity. Don't let it define you. The best revenge isn't the dramatic confrontation. It's building a life so good you forget they exist. Do I still think about Jessica sometimes? Yeah. Do I still feel angry about Joshua? Occasionally. But it's not the burning rage from day 147 anymore. It's just a scar. It's there. I know it happened. But it doesn't run my life. Last week I was sitting on the porch with Sarah. She was laughing at something on her phone, showing me a meme about military life. I laughed too. She kissed my cheek. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good." And I meant it. That's the thing they don't tell you about betrayal and revenge stories. Everyone wants to know about the dramatic moment, the confrontation, the explosion, the justice served. But the real ending? It's quiet. It's just moving on, building something new, choosing people who choose you back. Jessica and Joshua thought I was someone they could use while I was deployed. Someone who wouldn't fight back. Someone who'd just accept it. They were wrong. But more importantly, I learned I'm someone who can survive the worst betrayal and still come out the other side. Not unscathed, not unchanged, but whole. Whole enough to love again. Whole enough to build again. Whole enough to be happy again. I was serving my country. They were serving themselves. And in the end, I'm the one who came home.